A dropped pill, dark chocolate. When a hazard slips from your hand, you have about half a second before your dog reaches it. That tiny window is why we use the leave it command. It acts as an emergency brake for your dog's impulses. Training this response provides a reliable way to stop a dog's movement mid-lunge, preventing them from consuming a toxic item. Success depends on two different tools. You'll need bait, like dry kibble, and a high-value reward, like small pieces of cheese. Keep a strict timer. Canine behavioral studies suggest that learning acquisition is most effective when practice sessions remain under 10 minutes. Engineering this contrast in food value and keeping the session short prevents frustration and allows the dog to form a new habit quickly. Put a piece of the boring bait in your fist and hide the high-value reward in your other hand behind your back. Present your closed fist to your dog and say, "Leave it," exactly once. Your dog will likely lick, paw, and sniff your hand to get the food. Wait until they stop and pull their head back. This specific moment is called leave it behavior, or LIB. This timeline shows the required timing. Deliver the high-value reward the exact moment the dog pulls their head away. In this system, the dog should never receive the bait itself. The treat always comes from the secondary reward source. This closed fist step teaches the dog that looking away from what they want is the only way to earn a better reward. Once that is consistent, upgrade the challenge. Place the bait in a flat, open palm, present it to the dog, and say, "Leave it." If they lunge for the kibble, immediately snap your hand shut. Wait for them to back off, then open your hand again. Reward the dog only when they can stare at the open palm without moving forward. Transitioning to an open palm increases the difficulty, forcing the dog to actively resist a visible temptation rather than a blocked one. For step 3, move the bait to the floor. Place it down and cover it completely with your shoe. Say, "Leave it," and slowly slide your shoe back to expose the treat. This overhead view shows the foot acting as a barrier. If the dog moves toward the bait, immediately slide your foot over it. Success is the dog observing the treat and voluntarily sitting back. That's when you deliver the reward. Moving to the floor is necessary because it replicates the physical environment where dogs encounter real-world hazards, like dropped pills or scraps. The final progression is the drop test. Stand up, hold the bait, say, "Leave it," and drop the item near your foot. This is the most difficult stage because the motion of a falling object triggers a dog's impulse to chase. You must be ready with the foot block if the dog breaks their stay to go after the falling kibble. When the dog successfully watches the item hit the floor and remains still, deliver a jackpot, multiple high-value treats, and heavy praise. Mastering the drop test proves the dog can override their instinct to chase, replacing an impulsive lunge with disciplined waiting. To generalize this skill, start using non-food items as bait in future sessions, such as socks, tissues, or toys. Eventually, move the practice sessions outdoors to test the command against the distractions of a sidewalk or park. For long-term reliability, keep training sessions under 10 minutes and continue using high-value rewards to maintain the dog's focus. When mastered, this training allows your dog to remain still, even as a hazard reaches the floor. It replaces an impulsive race for the scrap with a calm. A barking, lunging dog isn't acting out of spite, and a perfectly behaved dog isn't magic. The difference between chaos and calm comes down to one thing: clear, consistent human communication. We are going to build that communication using 5 foundational commands: sit, down, stay, come, and leave it. These 5 behaviors are the building blocks of a predictable, safe routine. Before we issue a single command, we have to set the environment. You need a quiet room free of distractions, a standard 6-foot leash, and a hungry dog. Equip yourself with a hands-free treat pouch loaded with pea-sized pieces of high-value food, like hot dogs or cheese. Finally, set a timer. A training session should never exceed 5 to 10 minutes. You will see a sharp drop-off in a dog's ability to focus after 10 minutes, leading directly to frustration and behavioral burnout for both of you. We are establishing short, clear, and rewarding communication loops that your dog will actively want to participate in. Let's start building them. Step 1 is the sit. This is your dog's baseline for impulse control, making it much harder for them to jump on guests or bolt out the front door. To get the sit, hold a piece of food right at your dog's nose. Slowly trace an arc upward and backward over their head. As their nose follows the food up, their rear end will naturally fold down. Say the word sit exactly once. Under no circumstances should you ever physically push down on your dog's hips to force the position. Timing is everything. The very split second your dog's hindquarters make contact with the floor, say yes or click and deliver the treat. Once the sit is reliable, we move to the down. Lying down is the most physically stable position. It discourages pacing and makes it more difficult for a dog to lunge at a distraction. Put your dog in a sit and use the food to draw an L shape. Bring the treat straight down from their nose to the floor and then slowly pull it outward along the ground, away from their paws. If your dog's rear end pops up when they lower their head, sit on the floor and prop up one knee. Lure the dog under your raised leg. This physical barrier encourages them to crawl into a downward position. Mastering the sit and the down gives your dog a physical anchor. They now have the posture required before we can start teaching them to respect spatial boundaries. That brings us to the stay. You are essentially drawing a psychological boundary around your dog. Put your dog in a sit or down. Present a flat stop sign hand gesture toward their face. Say the word stay once and take exactly one step backward. Pause and then return directly to the dog. You must deliver the reward to the dog while they are still in that original position. Do not call them to you, or you teach them that breaking the boundary is how they get paid. When you are finished, you have to release the boundary. Say the word break in an excited tone and toss a treat a few feet away so the dog gets up to retrieve it. A command without a clear release leaves a dog tense, waiting to figure out what happens next. The release word removes the guesswork, telling the dog exactly when the work is finished. Now we tackle the lifesavers. The come command, or recall, is the tool used to pull your dog's attention away from a distraction and back to your side. To build a reliable recall, trigger their instinct to chase. Call your dog's name joyfully while running backward with open, welcoming body language. When they reach you, gently hold their collar so they don't immediately bolt again. Then deliver a massive jackpot. Feed them a continuous stream of tiny treats for 10 full seconds. There are 2 common errors that destroy a recall. Never repeat the command if they ignore you, and never call your dog to you to issue a punishment. Coming to you must always be the best thing that happens to them all day. The second lifesaver is leave it. This requires your dog to use cognitive self-control to override a natural drive to sniff or grab an object. Start with a piece of food hidden inside your closed fist. Present the fist to your dog and say leave it exactly once while they actively investigate your hand. Now you do nothing. Your dog will lick, paw, and nudge your fist trying to get the food. You must remain completely passive and perfectly still. Wait for the exact moment of disengagement. The second your dog pulls their head away or gives up and looks at your face, mark it with a yes and reward them with a treat from your opposite hand. Both come and leave it achieve the same goal. They train your dog to shift their focus away from environmental triggers and place it back on you. Cycling through these 5 commands constitutes a complete, highly effective training session. Your job now is to replicate this exact sequence every single day. Once your dog masters the quiet room, introduce generalization. Move daily sessions to the backyard, then the driveway, and eventually a park. In tougher environments, begin fading the lure. Transition from treating every successful command to random food reinforcement and verbal praise. Ending every session on a high note ensures the dog associates obedience with engagement and rewards. Every successful repetition brings you closer to a dog that listens because they want to, not because they have to.